Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. Got a bit of a cold today, so I clear my throat. I apologize in advance. The subject of homelessness has come up again, and in Toronto, right smack downtown, there's been a homeless camp that's been there for a number of years. As might be expected, it's concerning to the local residents because, well, this time of year, naturally they want to stay warm. So there'll be fires. There's generators there. There's cooking implements there. And with a bunch of fabric tents, you can imagine what happens after that. These are people who are not exactly wealthy and are not exactly in connection with the rest of society. So they get desperate. Naturally, theft is going to go up, and their idea of social norms may be out of date. Just think, in 2014, 2015, there were certain things that were acceptable that are not acceptable now. If you've dropped out of society for a bit, you're in for a shock. I can promise you that. Now, a while ago, they opened the old armories and allowed the homeless to go inside where there was heat. They could get fresh water and even washrooms. The homeless did not exactly flock inside. Many, many years ago, I was a security guard downtown, not far from where this area is. And there's such a mistrust of government among the homeless. I mean, I had to escort this man off the property, but I decided to give him some respect, and I talked to him. I talked to him about the YMCA, about the Salvation Army, and the things this man said was stunning. I mean, I was under the impression that the Salvation Army, you go there, you gotta listen to a sermon. Okay. But you get a meal and a bed and stuff like that. And this guy was talking about abuse and all sorts of stuff years before anybody alleged it. YMCA, same basic thing he said. Do I know he's telling the truth? No. But I know he was telling his truth, his experience. And I appreciate that for him. These people were already left to rot by the government and the various agencies. Otherwise, they wouldn't have wound up homeless. One of our local MPs, who has received all these letters and protests and stuff, said, well, this is a side effect of the housing market being so hot right now. Oh my, would I like to disagree with that. First of all, Forbes is saying the beginning of 2024 is when houses will be at their lowest for the next little bit. Secondly, homeless people aren't exactly considered good tenants for landlords to risk their investment on. And it is an investment decision. If I give you two tenants, one is making $100,000 and, is the junior vice president for some sort of tech company, and I give you a person that is on unemployment and they're going to pay you, but which one are you likely to say yes to? And it is your right as a landlord to select between tenants. You can't select on basis of skin color. You can't discriminate in any way, but you can discriminate on income. The other reason it has nothing to do with housing prices is that homeless people don't get enough money for housing anyway. It's laughable. The average one-bedroom apartment in my area is $1,500 a month. Ontario Works, or welfare as you may call it, gives you $700 per month. Yeah, the problem isn't the price of the houses and the housing. The problem is they don't give you enough money to live on anyway. Even back in 2010, I knew a bunch of multi-unit residences, which is basically they convert the house into rooms and each one is an apartment. Those apartments were about 500. Now it's tough, but you could survive off of that. Pay your 500. I think they had internet provided for them. I think they had the basics. So you give them $200 to live on a month. It's possible. Not pleasant, but possible. My own experiences a number of years ago was the Ontario Works or welfare people claim they're all about self-sufficiency and stuff like that, but they never put you in touch with any programs. They never ask, what can you do? They're just so busy saying, this month I want you to send me this identification, and this whatever the heck it was. They're so obsessed with that, they never actually get in touch with you and say, hey, there's a program going on around the corner that says we're going to start you off washing windows. If we find you're good at washing windows, then we'll move you in and start you on a computer and see if you're any good at typing, etc., etc. No, programs like that don't exist, especially after the pandemic. Now, the pandemic did get a lot of these people off the streets. And that's simply because the police officers became more aggressive with them. But it has nothing to do with the price of housing, because these homeless people were never in the market for it in the first place. It does show the attitude that we're up against in government. And it's not so long ago that a group of people went to the local minister and said, we need help for our disabled children, and we're talking like Down syndrome and severe autism to the point that they'll never be functional. And the minister said, they'll grow out of it. And thanks to shows like Dr. Phil, who's off the air, but his influence is still being felt, these politicians feel, homeless people are choosing to be on the street. In a way they are, but what options do they have? Quite frankly, it's disturbing. Some of you may have been through that situation and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe you could leave a comment down below. I'd be interested in reading whatever stories you chose to share with us, and I'm sure other people would as well. We do need a solution. Offering up the barracks was the beginning of a good solution. But these tent cities are a lot more than what we used to do to go camping. These people have their property there, they have their little territories, and it's pretty well regulated, and asking to uproot them and move them somewhere else, that's a solution government has tried many times before. There needs to be an incentive, like if you come here, live in the barracks, we'll have social workers there from 9 to 5 who are going to do nothing but sign you up for, welfare, food stamps, whatever the heck else they're going to give you. That's the way you need to move forward with this problem. And there's always the accusation that people are going to pretend to be homeless to get the benefits. I understand that, but if you want to go with that logic, everybody's going to be guilty of every single thing. People aren't going to get their driver's licenses if they don't have to. A lot of people would still get them because their insurance company would punish them. If we allow people to a free pool, then people are going to jump into the shallow end. There's probably going to be a few fools that do such things. And again, the majority of people are not that dumb. But once we get into this nanny state, and when you have business people complaining about their community, there's a fundamental disconnect. Nobody is seeing things from the ground up. And whenever you build something, you have to consider what's happening at the ground level. We can go in there, we can bring police, we can tell them, time to kick ass, rip everything down, tear it out. We're going to move all these people into the armories, lock them in there, and deliver food through a slot or something. I don't know how to keep them in there 24 hours a day without violating their rights. And yes, it would work for a short time, but others will come. And we have to respect that about these people. They are choosing to be on the streets, but the reasons for their choices are rational. Getting money is hard. It's not just you, my friend. It's everywhere. Getting money is hard, and when they give you money, it's not even close to enough to cover basics. So, pulling them into the armories would make us feel better, but then we're just going to turn around. The next government will come in and say, nah, that's not a necessary program. People are abusing it. We need to have some sort of agency that can be independent from government, so that way their budget doesn't constantly get slashed, but is also responsible to the dispossessed themselves. The majority are not psychologically incapable. They're making a rational decision. Maybe they've had that one bad day where they lost everything. Some of them are going to be criminals, and they have special needs, both for them to survive and to not to reoffend. Because I don't know about you, but if I'm hungry, and I don't know if these still exist, but it was around 2000 that stores would still display their fruit on the street. If I'm really hungry, yeah, I'm taking one. Whether it's apple, orange, doesn't matter, whatever I can fit. And this is what these business owners are reacting to. They're having a loss, and most of them are relatively good-natured, and they understand, okay, homeless people, costs of doing business, because you want to bring them inside, you got to put that display out. And there's a few that are pissed off about it because it's happened one too many times. We can't address this from too high of a level. We have to go in and engage. Because if we don't, our solutions are never, ever going to reach the issue. So spare a thought tonight for the homeless people, because it's going to get quite cold. And having spent some time outside when it's quite cold, I can tell you it is not pleasant. With that, we wish to thank you for joining us on the Silverlight Show. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, because sharing is caring. Don't forget to click the icon down below so that way it notifies you every single time that there's a new episode uploaded. And we hope you have a fantastic day.